All right, welcome to the last week of Principles of Management. We have 2 chapters to cover tonight. It shouldn't take too long, and hopefully we can get on our way. And I got you written down, Mr. Jackson. Trying to make sure I got everyone's attendance. Okay, so tonight, our first chapter is chapter 15. We'll go over the chapters really quick, and then we'll talk about the homework and go from there. Chapter 15 is about managing communication. And going to skip over the what you will learn in this chapter page like normal. So the process by which individuals attend to, organize, and interpret and retain information from their environments, which this is perception. It's a key part of communication. And something to think about on perception is your perception of a situation may be different than my perception of a situation. And it's one reason when there's a car accident, the police officers don't, or a bank robbery or anything like that, police officers don't want everyone that was part of the situation to talk to each other, as they want to know what everyone's perception is. Let's see. I'm cutting out bad on the good internet. Hold on just a second. Let me pause the video. Am I cutting out for everybody? Okay. Let's pause. All right, let's get back to the lesson. So everyone's perception is different on a situation. One thing, whenever we worked at the bank, they didn't want us talking to one another if we were robbed or we had to call the cops in for a situation, because they wanted everyone to give their perception of the situation, because what I may see happening may be someone else saw it differently. So they want all of us to give our own perception of what's happening. People experience stimuli through their perceptual filters. Filters affect each part of the perception process: attention, organization, interpretation, and retention. The basic perception process is here. You can refer back to that if you need to. Perceptions of others. People have a basic need to understand and explain the causes of other people's behavior. There's defensive bias, fundamental, let's see, self-perception. Trying to read. Tendency to overestimate one's value by attributing successes to oneself and failures to others or the environment. Perception problems. Selective perception, his tendency to notice and accept objects and information consistent with one's values, beliefs, and expectations while ignoring or screening inconsistent information. Closure, tendency to fill in gaps of missing information by assuming that what one doesn't know is consistent with what one already knows. Here's another exhibit if you need to refer back to it later on. Formal communication channels, a system of official channels that carry organizationally approved messages and information. Downward communication, upward communication, horizontal communication. One thing to remember about communication in a company is the better communication, both upward and downward, the better your employees are going to perform for you, the better informed they're going to be. And so it's really important that there is good communication in your workplace. If you have the ability to have input on what kind of communication, that's great. Always be willing to listen. That's really important for communication as well, especially when you're a manager. Informal communication channels, transmission of messages from employees to employee outside of formal communication channels, referred as grapevine, gossip chain, and the cluster chain. I'm sure everyone's heard of the gossip chain. Sometimes you hear things through other people. And if you're just joining us, please mute your computer. One-on-one communication. Whenever you're a supervisor and you're working with your employees, you're working them on how to do better, if you're coaching them, training them, that's part of one-on-one communication, communicating with someone for the direct purpose of improving one person's on-the-job performance or behavior. And, years ago, it wasn't coaching. You were their supervisor and you would discipline them, you would train them. And the workplace has really moved over to using the word coaching. And it sounds better, it rolls better off the tongue, and you feel like you're part of a team and you're getting better, versus being scolded or told what to do. Counseling is communicating with someone about non-job related issues that may be affecting or interfering with the person's performance. A lot of companies, and most of the companies I work for, have offered an EAP, which is an employee assistance program. It's typically anonymous and can help you work through different situations that you may be facing personally. So those are always great to have. Nonverbal communication, any communication that doesn't involve words. So movement of the body and face, pitch, range, tone, volume, and speaking pattern of one's voice. And I'm sure you've all seen it. If you have a manager that isn't very good at communication or not very good at coaching, and you ask them a question or you need help with something, and sometimes they can let you know that they're annoyed with you by their body and face. Maybe they give off a kind of annoyed look. So that is nonverbal communication. Managing one-on-one communication, choosing the right communication medium, oral communication, written communication, listening, active listening, empathetic listening. And so active listening would be, if I'm like right now, I'm talking to all of you and you're listening, but are you really listening to what I'm saying? Are you just hearing it? Active listening would be that you're putting notes to it, making mental notes, and learning from what I'm saying. Giving feedback, there's destructive feedback and constructive feedback. And destructive feedback is really going to discourage people. If I were grading your papers and I came in and I was like, what's your problem? Do you not understand the situation here? Do you not understand the assignment? Get it right. You have poor grammar. That's destructive, and I'm tearing you down, and it's not making you any better. But if I come in and I read your papers and I say, you do really good at doing this, and if you added a little bit of this aspect to your paper, it would make it even better. That's constructive. Though there needs to be something worked on, there's a lot of good in your paper, and that helps it be constructive feedback. And that's the same thing with anything anyone does, whether you're managing someone that counts a drawer or someone that organizes and stocks. You can always give constructive feedback if there's something to work on. And you'll get a lot more respect with constructive versus destructive. Managing organization-wide communication, improving transmission by getting the message out. So a lot of people probably have the email at work. I have email with both Ferguson and the community care college that go straight to my work phone, and I'm always getting emails. And so that's one way of organization-wide communication. Online discussion forums. We have our online discussion forums here at Community Care College, which you guys participate in. So that is one way we can communicate, and it's important that you're communicating on the dates that the assignments are due. That way it's kind of like a classroom discussion. Televised videotaped speeches and meetings. And I know I refer back to my church a lot, but it's a great example. We do live stream for our Sunday services. So it's something you can go and watch on YouTube. You can go back and watch it if you're not able to make it in, but that's one way that my church communicates with us that are unable to attend. And voice messaging. So those are different types of communication. Managing organizational-wide communication, improving reception by finding ways to hear what others feel and think. When I worked at the credit union here in Tulsa, the company would send out to all employees kind of like a survey, and you would give feedback to the people you worked for, the people you worked with, and it had to be constructive, not destructive. If you were criticizing or suggesting things they could work on, but it was also a great opportunity to let everyone know how much you appreciated them and things you realized that they did. And so it was always nice to get those back. You always have that one or two people out there that don't appreciate or agree with your principles, but it's nice, 7 out of 10 times to see the people that appreciate and notice what you do. So that's one way that we were able to communicate. It was anonymous, but sometimes there was really good feedback on there. If you see 2 or 3 people that say, "Hey, Sonia, you interrupt whenever you talk," and that is an issue that I have. I tend to interrupt people. You interrupt people whenever you talk. 2 people have said that. Maybe that's something I should sit back and think of. So that was one way to communicate a way for someone to improve without, just saying it straight to their face. Organizational silence, when employees withhold information about organizational problems or issues. And I went through that for several years with a company where the manager was really difficult to work for, but I kept silent. So I experienced that, and it's one of the worst feelings that an employee can go through. So it's really important to have those channels that you can offer to employees where they can talk anonymously to you. Just be open and let your employees know that you care about them and about making things better for their workplace. This company hotline phone numbers that anyone in the company can call anonymously to leave information for the upper management. Whenever I had the issue with the manager that was that was not of best quality, we had a company hotline that also had a company website where we could submit issues that we had that would that they would come in and investigate, I guess you could say would be the best way. So it is a useful tool if your company has it and it's something you absolutely need to utilize. Managing organizational-wide communication continued. Survey feedback, I talked about this a minute ago. And I want to highly suggest, if you are getting a survey, it's not your opportunity to go and bash your coworkers and bash your manager. Look at a survey as an opportunity to improve a situation or to acknowledge when someone's doing something well. I'm way more likely to improve on something that I'm lacking in if you give constructive feedback and tell me what I do well and how I could do it even better. And I think, as students and as co-workers elsewhere, as employees, I think you would appreciate it if someone were doing a survey and saw the good at what you were doing and gave constructive and not destructive feedback. A blog, a personal website that provides personal opinions or recommendations, news summaries, and reader comments. And I'm quite confident that most of you have heard of a blog, but that's one way to communicate. There's all types of new communication versus what there were several years ago, even just a few years ago. And we talked a little bit about last week or recently about, I have this communication here where I can talk to employees in my organization. And even down to the point where if someone were available and their phone would light up here, I could click the phone and it would call them and I never have to look up their number. So this is one useful tool that the company provided where I can communicate with others in the company. And even if it's a group and I need to talk to a few people, it provides that. Another thing is if I'm on another call, it'll tell me, hey, I have a call holding. So that's more communication. Instead of just hearing a beep and knowing that I have a call coming through, someone's answering that call and letting me know that I have that hold. I also talked a little bit about Skype, which is yet again a way to communicate. If you have Skype, you can have Skype business or Skype personal. Whenever I go on business trips, I tend to use Skype, my personal Skype, to talk to my children because we can see each other much like you can see me, I can see you. We can hear each other. So it's one way to communicate. And companies have capitalized on that. And we have our meetings in Skype. So I think I told you guys I'm in a district between 4 states. And all of us log on, see each other much like you see me on Zoom. We all get together and have our meetings and give input. So communication is important, and companies realize that, and they've offered more and more ways to communicate and to get information out. So our last chapter for this class is chapter 17, and the topic on it, I'm trying to remember. And are y'all still hearing me okay? I haven't seen anybody chat pop up. And I can't see anybody. So we talked about communication, and now we're going to talk about managing information. We're going to skip the summary outcome. The strategic importance of information. Moore's law, prediction that about every 2 years, computer processing power would double and its cost would drop by 50%. Information has strategic importance as it can be used to obtain first mover advantage and sustain competitive advantage once it's created. So let's skip this exhibit, and hopefully it looks like someone else logged in under my login, so hopefully you guys, I don't lose you. It looks like I lost my chat. Characteristics of useful information: accurate, complete, relevant, and timely. Cost of useful information: acquisition cost, cost of obtaining data that you don't have, processing cost, cost of turning raw data into usable information, storage cost, cost of physically or electronically achieving information for later retrieval, retrieval cost, cost of accessing already stored and processed information, and communication cost, cost of transmitting information from one place to another. Capturing information, you can do it manually or electronically, and if you've ever heard of data mining, that would be one way that they capture information electronically. Manually is slow, costly, labor-intensive, and inaccurate process. Entails recording and entering data by hand into a data storage device. So last week when you did your homework assignment and you were capturing information, some of you did it manually and some of you did it electronically. If you called and asked people questions and wrote down the answers, or if you, wrote it all up and gave it to people and then calculated the data manually, that would be the manual capturing information. The electronic, some of you use SurveyMonkey and things like that, so that would be the electronic capturing information. It involves using electronic storage devices to capture and record data electronically. So there's barcodes, RFID tags, and electronic scanners. Another way that you see electronic information collected is like Walmart and Target. Whenever you're scanning and checking out and you're using those barcodes, that's how they manage what's being spent and how much is being spent on what items and what's a high seller and what isn't selling much, so it could probably go. Every day, everyone's collecting data. Processing information, transforming raw data into meaningful information. Data mining, process of discovering unknown patterns and relationships in large amounts of data. The data warehouse stores huge amounts of data prepared for data mining analysis by being cleaned of errors and redundancy. Types of data mining. Supervised, user tells the data mining software to look and test for specific patterns and relationships in data mining. Unsupervised, user tells the data mining software to uncover whatever patterns and relationships it can find in a data set. And I don't know if anyone has ever watched Parks and Recreation, but they go over in one of the latter seasons, they have this company that is doing data mining on people, and they deliver these packages of things that people would like by these drones. And so whenever I read about this data mining, it kind of reminds me of that show. If you've ever seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Processing information. Patterns identified by data mining. Association or affinity patterns are two or more data elements tend to occur together in a significant way. Sequence patterns, when database elements occur together in which one of the elements precedes the other. Predictive patterns help identify database elements that are different. And data clusters, 3 or more database elements occur together in a significant way. So protecting information, if you have access to any pertinent information at your workplace, there's a big chance that you have some of these processes in place to help protect the information that you have access to. So process of ensuring the protecting information is process of ensuring that data is reliably and consistently retrievable in a usable format for authorized users only. So the authentication, like your password, your authorization, two-factor authentication, there we go, the firewall, data encryption, virtual private networks, VPNs, and secure socket layer, SSL encryption. Whenever I log on for Ferguson, I actually use this virtual private network. So right now, I'm not on the virtual private network. I'm logged on to my home internet. But if I wanted to, and I'm going to show you on my screen here, if I wanted to log on, this is my work, the system that I use for work. If I want to log on, I'm hooked to the internet. It's going to have a really hard time logging on. Once I get into this box right here, it's access to all the customer information that I have. And here it's saying, nope, there's no host found. So if I want to log on to my VPN, I can click here, and it's going to create that port for me, so I can log on securely and access all of that information. So VPNs are utilized quite frequently. If I were at work, I would have their firewall and everything protecting me. But since I'm at home, they created that virtual private network so I can log on here and do what I need to do and lessen the burden or the worry that the information will get out. Internal access and sharing. Executive Information System is EIS. It uses data to provide information required to analyze organizational performance. The intranet, I work on the intranet a lot, our private company network. And again, same thing. If I wanted to go to my intranet at work, since I do not have my VPN, I'm not logged into that VPN, since it's specific to Ferguson and I have to be on their network, this bar is going to just keep spinning and it's not going to log in for me. On our VPN at work, I have access to log in for time, my time off. I can look at pay stubs there. A lot of our handbooks, our manuals, and things like that. So that's one thing intranets are used for. Corporate portal, hybrid of executive information systems and the intranet. It allows employees to use a web browser to gain access to customized company information and to complete specialized transactions. We're getting there, 13 to 20. External access and sharing electronic data interchange, the EDI, allows two companies to convert their purchase and ordering information to a standardized format to enable direct electronic transmission of information between company systems. Ferguson utilizes this. I don't actually have much interaction with it, but I have a little bit of knowledge about it, where companies can go in and put in Excel what they want and have the ability to upload that to our system online and order products that they need. So external access and sharing uses standardized protocols to describe data. And I'm just going to check. My screen popped up that the internet is slow. Are you guys still hearing me fine? Okay. Web services uses standardized protocols to describe data that can be processed by different computer systems in companies. Extranets are networks that allow companies to exchange information and conduct transactions with outsiders. Sharing knowledge and expertise. Decision support systems, DSS, helps managers understand specific kinds of problems and potential solutions. Expert systems contains specialized knowledge and decision rules used by experts and experienced decision makers, used by non-experts to make decisions, and that is it. So tonight we really talk about communication information, ways to get it across. And it's a good week because this is something that we use every day. You're using communication right now. You're using online information to have this class. So for your last week, you have the 4.1 matching quiz. We have our discussion 4.1 and your professional development assignment. Last but not least is your final paper. And I want to make sure that you're not waiting until 2 hours before the paper is due to get it turned in, because it's not a small assignment. It's pretty big. And it says type a 3+ page research paper on a topic or issue that is related to management in today's world. And I get the question, what kind of format do you want on this? And I honestly am okay with 3-page, double-spaced. Don't make your font 15 point. Leave it what you do on all your other papers. Don't enlarge it so you can get to your 3 pages. Don't add a whole bunch of space at the top. I'm letting you do double space. Give me a good 3 pages. Make sure you have a minimum of 5 credible sources in APA format listed on a separate reference page. The reference page goes at the back and it's on a page of its own. Include 3 EBSCO-host articles. And then include a bibliography, which is the reference page. For ideas, you may want to scan headlines, and it gives a website here. There's our username if you're wanting to use the sourcing journal and the password. Here's some topics that you can include here listed out. And if you have any questions, hit me up. I try to answer all the questions that I got during the last class. I definitely want you guys to take the paper seriously, but I don't want you to feel overwhelmed about it. Just do a good job. Put your effort into it. We'll grade it like we have everything else. Same thing as last week. I'll get your papers, all your assignments from this week graded within the next 24 or 48 hours. Last week I did get a little bit behind. It was a crazy day on Monday, so I ended up doing it on Tuesday. I apologize for being slow on that. See if there's anything special about 4.1 discussion. And you guys are great at discussions, and some of you go above and beyond and do more than the 2 posts for your peers and have some great feedback for everybody. So continue that. Please be sure to review chapter 15 before attempting this discussion. It is essential that you refer to the textbook in order to receive full credit. And then again, we're listing out 1, 2, 3, and 4. What type of perception and communication problems have you been faced with as a manager or as an employee? Explain where the basic perception process you think the communications occur. How would you have done things differently? And what are the best ways to manage communication and information in your core area? I'll grade them based off the questions and your answers. We'll check out the spelling and grammar. And I have to say, you guys have been great at your spelling and grammar. I really haven't had any complaints. Make sure you're doing the peer-to-peer post. That's forgotten quite frequently. So make sure that after you post your answers, your 1, 2, 3, 4, by next Thursday, you're going on 2 people's posts and giving them good, beefy feedback, something they can utilize and just continue the conversation. So again, don't wait till the last minute on your final paper. Do the assignment, this matching quiz, the professional development assignment. Someone dinged in, and I want to make sure before you guys start logging off that I have everyone for attendance. So I'm going to take a picture of the screen because I couldn't find a pin. I'm going to take a picture of the screen, and I have everybody's name because it's listed here, but you can't see it on the recording. I'm going to stay on. I'm going to stop recording. If anyone has questions,